Good morning. You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
It is Wednesday, June 17th, and we're going to talk. We're talking hymns again today, but we're going to take hymns. We're going to talk about hymns around the world, which is kind of exciting. Around the world with hymns. Is there a good name for this segment today?
We'll have to figure something out. Hymnody around the world. I don't know.
There we go. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin. Thanks for your support of the Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
Joining us today is Deaconess Sandra Rhein, Sacred Music Educator in Asia through LCMS Office of International Mission. Deaconess Rhein, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Good to hear from you again.
It's always good to chat with you and hear what's going on in terms of sacred music education and for learning more about teaching hymnody and also learning about hymnody around the world. Before we dig into hymnody, though, how are things in the Rhein household?
Yeah, well, a bit quiet in a way because, we're doing this physically distancing thing along with everyone else in the world. But I still have plenty of computer work to do. My husband is a music professor, and so he did teaching online. So we've spent many hours sitting at home together in our own little computer worlds.
How have things been at church and in your community lately?
We are pretty far down the path in opening up with fewer restrictions in Indiana. For a time, we had 10-person services, and so Pastor and I kept very busy having enough 10-person services so that everyone could attend divine service each week. But now in my church, we are back to a full regular service, and we're very thankful for that.
Yeah, thanks be to God for that. So since the last time we talked with you, some things have changed, other than the coronavirus pandemic. Some things for you have changed, and you're now a called missionary. Tell us about that and what your new title and role are.
Yeah, I am so thankful for this and excited to get on with it. For the past several years, my position has been called hymnal consultant, and I've been under the Office of International Mission, but I've been a contracted worker. So now I have been called to be a missionary. It is called Sacred Music Educator in Asia. So I still get to do the same hymnal projects, but I get to do much more than that. I will be helping the people be able to really use these hymnals, guiding them in more liturgical and musical resources, and teaching how to use all of those things that are in the hymnal. I'll be able to work with the people much more, and I'm so excited for that.
And obviously speaking in the future, because we can't deploy just yet, obviously.
Correct.
But what are some things that you're doing now to prepare, and what are you able to do remotely during this time?
I am in that first phase of mission work where I am building a support network. So that looks different than normal too, because normally that means traveling around this country, giving presentations and developing a network of support. But I can't travel and I can't give presentations yet, so I am connecting with people remotely as much as possible, giving some presentations over Zoom, talking to people on the phone and through email. And in the meantime, there is work that I can do specifically with the Indonesian hymnal, because it's at a point where there's a lot of kind of what I'd call grunt work on the computer. Some things that just take many hours of sitting at the computer and slogging through. So I get to do those things. They're not the most fun, but it's actually a good time I just have to sit at the computer and do that work, so I can do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, where will you be working primarily when you actually are able to deploy?
The LCMS has an excellent facility in Taiwan. In Jiayi, Taiwan, we have a large building called the Luther Building, and that will be my home base when I am in Asia. I'm not going to deploy permanently yet. I may in the future, but for right now, I am going to continue living in this country, but just go maybe 3 times a year and stay for a couple months at a time. So I maybe be about half the time over there. And Taiwan will be my home base, and I will travel around the Asian countries as there is need. My husband is a few years away from retirement, and so we're not ready to deploy quite yet.
What are you most looking forward to, though? This all sounds very exciting to be able to have this all these opportunities now in front of you.
Oh yes, I think really when I'm working on a hymnal, like I said, I'm working mostly with the leaders of the church, and I love doing that. But I would like to spend more time just working with the individual musicians who are doing their best to lead the worship service in their local congregation, and they need more training in just how do you play for a Lutheran service. It's different than the entertainment style worship that you hear around you, Pentecostal and all of that kind of stuff. And we would serve them well if we could just have time to work with them on that kind of thing, or teaching them how a musician and a pastor can work together, and what a hymn of the day is, and how to use the lectionary. And I'm really excited to develop some resources that will help those people in their small local congregations.
So obviously the pandemic creates some challenges. What do you find most challenging in making this transition to serve as Sacred Music Educator in Asia?
Patience has always been a struggle for me. I'm just anxious to get busy on the work, and I have to do a lot of sit and just wait, and do what we can on the computer, but not actually go see people. And that is literally the thing that is most frustrating.
Yeah, you've spent
so. Meeting is fine.
This is certainly going to be somewhat different, I'm sure, than much of the work that you've been doing with the translating. You've gotten to work with people in the past with the translating, but I'm sure that also means a lot of time spent alone, just over books and pages and lots of music and words as well. Now getting to actually work more face to face with people, I'm sure is exciting, but to have to wait, how challenging, how frustrating, but I'm sure we're all in that position. Why is
Go ahead.
Why is church music and the facilitating use of these hymnals so important for the church bodies that we're partnering with to do this?
We have pastors in these places where I'm serving, and those pastors are serving, they're called to preach God's word and deliver the sacraments. A hymnal, an order of service, is the structure that facilitates them giving God's gifts. So when you've got the structure of the divine service and you can give that to the people, then that allows the pastor to deliver the gifts. He's got the absolution in the divine service, and he's got the Holy Communion, and that's where we are as Christians. Our life is built. It's hidden in the forgiveness of sins, which comes through Holy Baptism and Holy Communion, and that hymnal really facilitates that life. So there is, in my opinion, once they have the Bible, the hymnal is second only to that in serving them so that they can live in Christ as we do. It's how you get the gospel out to them.
Mm-hmm. In some of the translation projects that you've worked on, what are some hymns that come to mind that really clearly, well, in English probably clearly communicate, but how do you make sure that, tell us a little bit about that process of that translation and making sure that clear message of word and supporting and lifting up the word in hymnody. I'm sure that's challenging in the translation process and the work that you'll be doing as a sacred music educator as well.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of the most important tasks is to find people who can translate really, so as well as possible, translate those hymns so that they don't lose the theological meaning, and so that the words fit really well, flow really well with the tunes. In that way, the words stick with the people and drive that word deep into their hearts and souls and stay with them, because the music is the memory device that keeps the words going through their minds. So we spend a lot of time and energy to find good translators. And when I'm thinking about the hymns that I suggest that I give to the translators, two that come to mind especially are Salvation Unto Us Has Come and Dear Christians, One and All Rejoice. I think either one of those tell the entire story of salvation. They lay out law and sin and Jesus coming to earth and dying on the cross, and that our forgiveness is through him, and our faith is in him, and good works flow out of that faith. I think pastors could do those two, based on those two hymns, for many weeks and not run out of good material.
Our guest today is Deaconess Sandra Rhein, Sacred Music Educator in Asia through the LCMS Office of International Mission. You're listening to the Coffee Hour. We'll be back with more in just a moment. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
Our listeners and supporters are talking about Worldwide KFUO.
We live in Accra, Ghana, West Africa. We listen to KFUO through the internet. It's nice to listen to a church service going on here in the U.S., the music and the talk shows. It's been very uplifting, really encouraging. So thank you.
Bringing the word of Christ to listeners around the world. To leave a message on the KFUO comment line, call 314-996-1542. Worldwide KFUO.
Did you know that your individual retirement account may make the best gift to KFUO? The IRS now allows individuals 70 and a half or older to transfer their required minimum distribution directly to charity and avoid paying the associated income tax. These gifts can provide regular, long-term resources to KFUO. If you have questions about making an IRA gift to KFUO, call me, Mary, at 314-996-1518. We'll send a representative out to help answer your questions and help you establish a legacy of giving to your favorite radio station, Worldwide KFUO.
Part of music's grace is that it can say and do at the same time. It can say we need help and at the same time help us. It can sing about comfort while comforting us. And when it calls us to hope, it also gives hope. Experience it on the next Sing for Joy.
Sundays at noon on KFUO.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We're talking hymnody with Deaconess Sandra Rhein, Sacred Music Educator in Asia through LCMS Office of International Mission. Obviously not deployed yet at this time, but doing lots of preparation, getting ready for the work that she'll be doing in Asia, doing some preparation here. And you've done a lot of work already as in the hymnal translation projects that you've been doing. Do you have any stories from the church partners, the church bodies that we're partnering with or that you've worked with already?
Yes, I have one story that I would love to tell you, and this one comes from Ethiopia, where we've fairly recently finished their hymnal, their new hymnal. It was dedicated in Reformation of 2019, and that sort of completed my work in Africa. One part of hymnal projects is always to make a recording of all of the new hymns and new liturgy settings so that people can listen to them to learn them, because once we've, part of bringing them a new hymnal is bringing them the resources to be able to use it. So we want to get a good recording done by local people. And in Ethiopia, we were having a difficult time finding a recording studio that we could afford. Each recording studio wanted to charge a price per song. We had 26 new hymns plus parts of the liturgy, so it would have been like 30 was the number. And it was going to be many, many hundreds of dollars US to get these recorded, which we just couldn't afford that. So the Sagawan, who was the chairman of the hymnal committee, was looking all over. Finally, he found one radio station in a TV station in Addis Ababa, and they were having trouble finding enough stuff to put on air. So they said, well, we'll make a deal with you. We will record everything you want for free if you give us the right to play those recordings anytime we want on air. And, we're like dumbfounded, like, yes, I think we would be okay with doing that. And so that is where we had 3 Ethiopians singing, and the wife of one of the missionaries, Johanna Stinnett, played the keyboard, did all the recording. And just last week, one day, Sagawan sent me a little video clip from that TV station. They were playing A Mighty Fortress, and the TV station had decided to put scenery of mountains in the background, and then the words were going across the screen, and it was just amazing. Man, praise God for that.
Wow. That is incredible how all of that worked together. Thanks be to God for that opportunity. How is that kind of thing? Is that kind of thing common in Ethiopia, to have sacred music in that kind of public space?
It is, but
okay.
I have never seen Lutheran hymns.
Right.
We see Pentecostal entertainment stuff going on all of the time, with the speakers as loud as they go.
Oh, right.
So this is just a delight. And then, of course, in that country, chanting over loudspeakers, Muslim and also Ethiopian Orthodox, is happening all the time. So there is religious music in the air, literally in the air, most of the time.
But now there's Lutheran in that mix. That is so great.
That's right. Oh, I know.
So another exciting thing that we've had on the coffee hour is the David's Harp organization that's working to facilitate music conservatories in congregations here in the States. But you mentioned when we were talking earlier, before we were on the air, that you're able to actually work with this organization. Tell us how your work and how David's Harp go hand in hand.
I am just so excited about the doors that are being opened, or that I can see opening in the future with this. I have been talking with David's Harp, with their board, and also with St. Paul's Music Conservatory in Council Bluffs, Iowa, where this all started. And their goal is doing missions through music, and establishing music conservatories where people can come and learn music, and they learn hymnody, and they get catechized at the same time. And this is very much what I hope to do in my new call, but what I don't have is strategic planning and books and resources, and that's exactly what David's Harp has. And what they don't have are connections in foreign countries, and that's what I have, and I go over there. So we are talking about how we can work together. One small thing, well, it's not a small thing, it's a big thing that we have already done. I have been consulting some on a Spanish hymnal committee. There's a Spanish hymnal that is getting close to completion that will serve countries in Central and South America, excuse me. And we're up to doing, one of the steps is doing this recording. And they've got plenty of people, but maybe the recording equipment this recording studio is a problem. So now we're working out a plan where one Argentinian man is going to fly up to Council Bluffs and use the recording studio that they have at St. Paul's. And at St. Paul's they have a pianist, a guitarist, and they'll work together and help them get that recording made. So that's already a way that they can serve. And David's Harp has just recently been granted RSO status. So they are saying to us, tell us how we can help in your mission, and we are going to find the ways to get grants, and we don't want to charge, we'll take care of the money from this end of it with donations so that you missionaries can just do your work and not worry about how to raise money for whatever things we're doing for you. So it's just like going to open doors everywhere.
St. Paul's Music Conservatory and David's Harp are both great organizations that are just wonderful to partner with for the sake of the gospel. I know that they want to use the gifts that God has given to bring the gospel to so many communities, and that's just delightful to hear that that you get to work together to do that around the globe, and to see that. I'm sure working on hymnal translation and to see something, it's kind of like developing theory and then seeing the practical application of that, in a sense, working on hymnal translations and being a part of hymnal translations, and then seeing that put into practice and being used is, I'm sure, just very encouraging.
It is indeed. I've got this dream that Asia, somehow the Asian Lutheran churches could become known for their Lutheran music tradition. The pieces are there. It could happen.
Mm-hmm. We have some, I know we have some hymns from Asia in our current Lutheran service book. When you learn about a culture and the people of that culture and their music and their hymnody, what do you look for? What have you learned about hymnody in some of the cultures that you'll be serving in Asia?
It's interesting to me that hymnody, good hymnody, how universal good Lutheran hymnody is. I went into this thinking, well, we'll use a lot of their indigenous songs, and then we'll supplement those with some of the Lutheran hymns that they don't have. And there is often the indigenous, by indigenous, what that really is hymns that previous missionaries have brought. Mm-hmm. So surprisingly, I don't run into so many songs that we would say, that we Americans would think of as traditional Indonesian sound, but they have the Gerhardt hymns, or maybe not always good hymns. I mean, some are good and some are bad, but it's always hymns from missionaries, so that they are actually Western hymns that they're already using, and we can just improve on that. And it tells me that we all live in a geographical culture, but the church's culture is also all over the world and belongs to all of us and transcends those geographical cultures.
Mm-hmm. What has been the response of the people now that several of these books have been published in the hands of people? What is the response of the congregations when they're able to actually use these books?
One of the responses is that they are so proud of a beautiful book, because many of these cultures don't have a lot of books, and so there is a pride just in the actual physical look of the book, that it's something that they can take pride in. It shows that their church is a legitimate official church because it's got its own hymnal. and then the other big thing is that they have never had a hymn book that has music notes in it. And that also just, they take so much joy in that, because now if they learn to, maybe their children have learned to play an instrument, and they can figure out what the melody is, even if they can't remember. They can look at those notes and figure out the melody, and they think that is the most amazing thing.
Well, we have just about a minute left. What's the outlook for moving forward in your work as Sacred Music Educator?
I have been hoping to make my next trip to Taiwan and Indonesia in October or November. The Indonesian hymnal, we still hope to finish in 2021, Lord willing. But it remains to be seen how, if that kind of travel is possible at that point. If it's not, we will do what we can do with Zoom. And it's in the Lord's hands.
Is there a way we can follow your work and the work of Sacred Music Educator Deaconess Sandra Rhein?
Yes. If you go to LCMS.org and go to missionaries, there's information about me there. LCMS.org/Rhein. You can also sign up for my monthly newsletter. All I need is your email address. So if you go to that same place or go to sandra.rhein@lcms.org, you can let me know that way. Give me your email address and I would be happy to add you to my newsletter list.
Very good. Deaconess Sandra Rhein, Sacred Music Educator in Asia through LCMS Office of International Mission. Thanks for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you for having me. God's blessings to you.
I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.